Hey everyone, me again. Today we're going to be talking about the new foundation from Revlon. This is their Candid Photo Ready foundation. I featured this in my last haul video and a few of you said that you wanted to see a review on it, so here it is. I picked up the two palest shades, which are 110 Porcelain and 120 Buff. I also got the concealer in 010 Vanilla. I did film some swatches, which you should be seeing on the screen right now, and 120 is definitely a little bit too dark for me. I picked it up because it's got a more neutral undertone, so I thought that would be okay and that I'd be able to make it work, but it's definitely too dark. The thing is, these foundations do oxidize a fair bit, so if you're like me and you're kind of between two shades, I would just stick with the lighter one. So I'm wearing the shade 1110 right now. I'm also wearing this concealer. The concealer is far too dark, and I looked it up and they actually only have 4 shades of concealer, which to me that seems a bit strange because they've got so many foundation shades. Revlon are normally kind of okay at having a very diverse foundation shade range, but the concealer only has 4, so no wonder it doesn't match me very well. I'm going to cut to the footage of me applying it now so that you can see how I made it work for me. Okay, so I'm going to attempt to apply the foundation and concealer now, and I say the word attempt because this isn't the first time I've tried to use this. I've actually been testing both products for a couple of days now and I've been having some problems with like texture and stuff, so I'm going to try it this time. I've been watching a couple of reviews and just seeing how other people are applying this to make it work. So I'm going to do a slightly different technique today. First, I am going to use a little bit of this concealer, but this is the palest shade and it is a million shades too dark for me. So today I'm just going to put a little bit of this under my eyes just so that you can see how it works, because it's got quite a pink undertone to it. So I'm going to try and use it as a colour corrector. I've already primed my face, by the way. But yeah, I'm just going to put a little bit down here. I do like the doe foot applicator and I do really like how creamy this is as well. So as a colour corrector, that's done kind of an okay job. Like you can see this compared to this eye, there's a lot more blue under here. You can still see all my freckles under this eye, but yeah, the blue and purple tones have calmed down a little bit, so I'm just going to do the same on the other side. For my primer, I used the Maybelline Baby Skin Primer. When I've been trialling this product for the last couple of days, I've been using the Revolution baking oil and that just has not been working at all. It really doesn't seem to get on with that. So today I'm trying this one and just hoping for a little bit more success. Now I'm going to apply the foundation in the shade 110. I do really like the packaging. I like that it's got the squeezy tube and you can just pump it out like that. That just makes it really convenient for travel. So I've just got a small pump on the back of my hand and I'm going to try it on this side of my face. I've been testing it with a sponge and that really hasn't been working out for me. I don't know if the sponge has been too damp or what, but it's just kind of been sort of separating the foundation. So today I'm going to be trying a brush. This one's from Primark. It's the only one that's clean at the moment, that's why I'm using this. And I'm just hoping that I have a bit more luck with this method because I've got 2 bottles of this foundation, so I want to try and make it work. Okay, so it's given me kind of a light coverage. It has toned down my redness quite a bit though, like if you compare the 2 sides of my face. Like it has evened things out very nicely, but you can still see a lot of my freckles and my spots coming through, and there's still a little bit of redness as well. So let's just try adding a bit more here. This is normally when it goes wrong for me. Just over the last couple of days, it really hasn't liked it when I've tried to build it up. And like right now, it doesn't actually look as bad, but I'm still really struggling to layer it, especially over this bit of redness right here. Do you know what? I am having a lot more luck with this foundation today. It's really kind of evened everything out, but it still looks like skin. It looks so natural. So yeah, I think that's what I was doing wrong before. I think this foundation just works a lot better with a brush than a sponge, and also it really didn't get on with the oil primer either. It is starting to oxidize a little bit now, which I kind of expected. So as it oxidizes, the undertone does shift a little bit. It definitely goes a little bit more warm tone, but I can still kind of make it work, it's fine. I am going to try using a sponge on the other side of my face just so that we can see if it is the sponge or the primer that's been causing me all these problems. I have dampened my sponge a little bit. This is the Real Techniques one, but today I did squeeze it a lot more than I normally would, and I also kind of dried it a little bit on the towel, so it's only like a little bit damp. I think it might have been a little bit too wet the last couple of times I've tried this. got so much redness on this side of my face at the moment, so this should be interesting. Yeah, the coverage isn't as good with a sponge, but the finish still looks completely fine, so I think I can conclude now that it just doesn't like an oily primer like the Revolution baking oil. I'm just gonna keep building this up with the sponge. That's building really nicely with the sponge actually. So if you go on to buy this product, I'd probably recommend doing your first layer with a really dense brush and then just building it up with a sponge if you need to. I should probably mention that I am using up quite a few pumps of this product. It does seem to get absorbed by the sponge and by the kabuki brush quite easily. It's not the end of the world, but just keep in mind that you're only getting 22 ml of product instead of the standard, which is about 30. It's a little bit more expensive than other foundations on the market, and you're gonna use a little bit more of it as well. So yeah, it might not be the best in terms of value for money. I'm really struggling to cover up like the patch of redness right over here at the bottom of my face. I'm probably going to have to go over that bit with concealer. Also, I am noticing in that area where I built it up, it has been oxidizing a lot more. So the weird thing about this foundation, I know I'm looking really closely in the mirror by the way, it's just so I can see like if the texture is still okay on my face. So the strange thing about this foundation is that it feels so kind of creamy and moisturizing when you first chuck it on your face, but then after a minute or so it will start to set a little bit, and it doesn't go matte, but it just feels like it's kind of settled into the skin, like it doesn't stay that creamy, tacky, movable kind of base, it kind of sets in. And I think that's been throwing me off a bit, and I think that's why I might have been struggling to build this up as well. So that will take a little while to get used to. So I've just been letting that set in a little bit while I draw in my eyebrows. I've still got tinted eyebrows by the way, I am loving them, life-changing. But one of the things that's really surprising me at the moment is how kind of not matte, but almost matte my skin looks, considering how moisturizing and creamy the foundation feels when you first kind of pump it out the tube, and when you're first applying it, it does look a little bit more set now, and it's kind of making me feel like I'm a little bit more textured than I normally look. It does look better today than it has done when I've previously applied this, because normally it just kind of starts to separate a bit. So yeah, I found a way to make it work, so I don't hate it anymore, but I don't especially love it either. I do like my foundation to look a little bit more dewy, to just feel a bit more hydrating on the skin. I do feel like some parts of my face where I did build it up are looking quite orange. I don't know if you're going to be able to see in this lighting, but I did film some close-ups with the lights turned down a bit, so hopefully you can kind of get the idea of what I'm talking about. But yeah, I just feel like there's no life to my skin right now, like there's no kind of glow and radiance, which is what I'm usually going for. So if you wanted something that was creamy and that stayed creamy and didn't set down like this, then I would probably recommend either the Maybelline Dream Satin Foundation, which I have a review on, or if you want kind of that protection that this claims to have, then maybe go for something like the Kiko Daily Protection BB Cream. This has got SPF 30. It doesn't have as much coverage, but it's really nice actually. So I'm going to use a few other products to try and make this work and share the process with you. So I'm going to use a concealer that's a little bit light and also quite dewy and radiant. This is the Maybelline Instant Anti-Age Eraser in the shade 00 Ivory. So I'm just going to brighten up the center of my face, and also just use this on my forehead where it's kind of looking a little bit dry and textured as well. And take a little bit down here because this is where it's starting to look a little bit orange, and just anywhere where it's looking a little bit textured or like there's still some redness showing through. And this will hopefully add a little bit of life back into my face. And I'm just using the same sponge as before to blend everything in. I have kind of turned the lights down a little bit by the way, so hopefully you can see all the gory details of how my face currently looks. Yeah, this is what it was doing before. It kind of looks a little bit weird as I try to blend concealer in on top of it, which is strange, right? Because it's supposed to be like a really buildable foundation, so you'd have thought it would be a bit more kind of forgiving when other products are applied on top of it. If you want to wear concealer with this foundation, which you probably will because it's a light to medium buildable coverage, most people are probably going to need a bit of concealer, then you're going to have to work maybe a bit more quickly, or maybe you'd like this if you don't typically wear that much concealer, or if you put your concealer on before your foundation. So I'm just going to take a little bit of the Collection Lasting Perfection Concealer. I need this because I've got a few breakouts at the moment. I'm just going to use this just over my spots. So as this is quite a matte finish, you could probably get away with not setting your face with powder. So if you don't normally like to use a setting powder, you might really enjoy this. Personally, I do like to set my face. I usually set my face every single time I do my makeup, even though I have dry skin, because my skin is also quite dehydrated, and if I don't set everything down, it just kind of disappears off my face, really. I also don't like being able to like touch my face and just move everything, which I find that happens quite a lot if I don't set it. So I am going to use a setting powder, but I'm going to use quite a radiant one from Revolution Pro. This is actually a highlighter. It's their Skin Finish in the shade Luminescence. I picked this up in my recent haul video, and someone in the comments said you could actually use this as a setting powder, and they were absolutely right. It's a beautiful setting powder. But it is also a subtle highlighter, so I'm hoping it will just take away some of that kind of dry texture, or at least mask it a little bit. Okay, that has kind of helped bring a bit of glow back into my skin. I still think the undertone of this foundation is kind of off. There's just something that doesn't look right about my skin at the moment. I'm thinking it's because it kind of goes a bit warmer as the foundation starts to set, so that could be it. But this powder is definitely helping. So now I'm going to add contour, bronzer, blush, all of that good stuff, and then I can come back and hopefully give you some final thoughts. Just a mini update for you. Now that I've put on my bronzer and my blush, which were both quite radiant, I used the Summer Love bronzer from I Heart Revolution. My highlighter is also from them as well. I used the Goddess of Love. And then I went in with a really shimmery blush. I used the Revolution again. This is the Vivid Baked Blush in Hard Day. Put all that down, contoured a bit as well, and I used my Revolution setting spray as always. I promise Revolution don't sponsor me, I just really love their products. So once I used all that, that's kind of added a bit of radiance to it, and the setting spray has helped it to mesh a little bit with my skin. So I think I have successfully made this work. However, that being said, I'm still not the biggest fan of the finish. It does still look quite dry and quite textured on my skin. I think maybe if you had more normal skin than dry to very dry, which I currently have, maybe you would like it a little bit more. I'm not massively keen on it, but I don't dislike it as much as I did when I first bought the foundation either. Would I buy it again? No. So that was a few hours ago. Since then, I've filmed this eyeshadow look that I'm also wearing right now. I've also had lunch, so the foundation has been sat on my face for a couple of hours. I think about 2.5 hours at this point. I should also mention that it's quite warm today. Well, I say warm, it's 22 degrees C. In the UK, that feels warm, and I'm sat under studio lights as well while I'm filming. I thought that I would mention all of those factors because actually, now that it's been on my face for all that time and my skin's warmed up in the heat, I do feel like I like it that little bit more. So when I first applied it, everything was looking quite dry. The matte finish really kind of threw me off a bit, but now that it's had that chance to settle in, it's kind of become part of my skin, and it does feel quite lightweight. It does feel quite breathable, which is a lot for me because my skin's fairly sensitive. So I thought I'd mention that because I feel like this is going to be quite a nice base product in the summer, or just if you're going to be wearing your foundation for the long run. So yeah, this foundation has been a bit of a funny ride for me. I started off really hating it, then I thought it was okay when I got it to work, then I didn't like it again when I saw how drying it was, and now I'm back to liking it again. So yeah, I know I have mixed feelings about this foundation, but I really hope that somehow you still found this helpful. If you've got any questions, let me know in the comment section. If I've missed anything out, I do read and reply to all of my comments eventually, so just let me know down there and I'll get back to you. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more foundation reviews and eyeshadow palette reviews and long Superdrug hauls, Primark hauls, if that sounds like your kind of thing, then make sure you're subscribed. I upload new videos every Sunday at 9 AM. I'll see you guys next week. Bye!